The Flame Central podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage, has hit the road. We are in Arizona.
Unbelievable.
We're hot. Go Flames!
We got some Flames fans in the background.
We're hot on a run, baby.
I
We're
mean,
hot on a run.
We might have to make this podcast last until the sunset because you guys can't see it. But there are beautiful rock, well, mountains, not
rock
rocks.
formations. Yeah.
I mean,
Called the what's it called? The Camelback Mountain.
We're at
right?
the Camelback
We're at the Camelback Inn.
Yeah,
so that could be.
That's
I think
Camelback
that's
Mountain,
right?
where they got the inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Hump. One hump, two hump. I see it.
Well, the number 8 Oregon Ducks are set
Full
to face.
of water in those humps. You know they say that.
Yeah.
A lot of water in those 2 humps right there. Little Arizona trivia fact.
Okay.
There's not a lot of water out here.
Not game day yet. Maybe we're not talking about the game until the next podcast. I think we're going to be in the middle of the pep rally for the next one. But let's just live in the moment, you guys.
Yeah, let's go. Stay in the moment.
Stay in the moment. We're having such a great time. It's absolutely beautiful weather out here in Arizona. Joe Yock made the trip today.
I couldn't find my sunglasses in the bag. New pair of sunglasses for Christmas. I went and searched, couldn't find them.
Yeah, see, that's why people don't buy you expensive things.
Yeah, good point.
Because you can't even find
We
them
got my
anymore.
Flames hat on, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thanks so much for listening or watching. We have a lot to discuss. Let's talk about the drama that was for the Flames to get to Arizona.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy.
I just found out about this.
Yeah.
Matt just told me about this.
Where have you been, Joe?
I know.
Well, he's been having his own travel issues. But, yeah, Liberty
Not
planning
ideal.
to fly out of Lynchburg.
Yeah.
Then the bad weather, folks back there know what it was like yesterday, forced them to, the planes couldn't land in Lynchburg to pick them up. So the team had to then drive to Richmond to get there. And so they were trying to get transportation. It was just a mess. Finally got there, ended up getting in much later than they expected here to Arizona.
The mariachi band went home.
They went home.
They're like, I'm out.
I mean, they're
It
on
is
an
way past my bedtime.
hourly rate. Yeah. They're like, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the instruments don't play
They had a
past
birthday
10
party
p.m.
to go to. And so they left. But so they got in much later than they expected. It was a much longer travel day than expected. But I think just being out here in this weather and being there at practice with the Flames today, like, how could this not get you fired up? Yeah, I mean, just being out here right now, beautiful.
Every good bowl win comes overcoming a little bit of adversity.
They got it early.
You got your adversity early.
They got it out of the way.
The Flames are no stranger to the adversity, hitting them this year. So I have no doubt we will overcome it. The vibe here, I think people are just still arriving.
Yeah,
right.
So we're gonna we are the party.
The vibe's building.
The party
The
is
vibe
right
is
here.
building.
Right now.
Now, you got Matt Warner bolts from practice. Again, no one cares about the actual game. Matt Warner's like, Joe Yock has landed. I'm out.
That's why he's called a good partner right there.
I gotcha.
I mean, we were texting back and forth. It was like seamless transition.
I had to actually pull him away. I was looking for him. I'm pulling up. I'm looking for. There's a small crowd. I'm like, what is that crowd? What are they getting? And they were surrounding Joe Yock. A lot of people saying like, hey, can I get pre-approved? Like, what does that look like? Autographs. There's a lot going on.
You guys are so dumb.
I qualify for?
Right.
What's my monthly gonna be?
Yeah. A lot of those standard stuff.
I mean, if you live in Arizona where we are, you have to qualify for a lot. I mean, these homes out here.
Alcova Mortgage can get its Arizona license. We don't have a problem with that.
I mean,
we can take care of the folks of Arizona.
Yeah.
I don't know how people can afford to live in some of these homes. It's like built into the mountains. Pretty cool. But so the first actually media availability today was the Flames offense. So we talked to Willie Korn, Newland Isaac, Caden Salter, Quentin Cooley, Bentley Hanshaw, and Xavier Gatlin, and CJ Daniels. So that was nice. You could tell the guys were like a little tired, but I think that everybody's going to, the vibe, like you said, is building.
It's building.
So a lot of confidence coming out of that room. I think that the Flames offense feels like it can, it feels like it can hang because it is such a unique scheme that it is difficult. Quentin Cooley was saying, I have a hard time understanding this. I'm like, well, that's a problem.
No, that's your job.
He's done an okay job throughout the season.
He's done a good job.
But
Willie Korn, and that's one thing he said. He's like, listen, they haven't, and speaking of Oregon, very good defense. And he bragged on how athletic they are and how good they are. But he's like, they also haven't seen an offense that does what we do. Like, they just haven't run into that before. So while they've had some time to prepare for it, and you get almost a month here, they still haven't seen an offense like us before, so we feel like that's a little bit of a competitive advantage in that regard. The other thing that was interesting, Willie Korn said, was I asked him, is it your natural tendency as a coach, and Joe, you could probably speak to this, when you get so much time to prepare now for a game, almost a month, is it your natural tendency to start going, ooh, you know what? Maybe we could add a little of this and we could do a little of that.
Adding some
And
wrinkles.
and that maybe
Wrinkle
sometimes
package.
Wrinkle package.
you
Yes.
kind of lose focus or could on what makes you
That's right.
and what makes you so good in the first place. And that's something that Willie Corn talked about. Is like, yeah, it's easy to go, oh wow, this team did this against them and had a little success. What if we? But at the end of the day, you have to be really good at what you do well. And so it's a balance of adding some stuff, but also making sure we're dialed in at what got Liberty here in the first place.
Being true to yourself.
What made them the
Who
top
you are.
rushing team in the country, what got them to 13-0. Like, you have to make sure we're dialed into what we do well, and then see if there's some little wrinkles that you could throw in there that they haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think what they end up doing is they're going to game plan the way they've always game planned, right? And so they're going to look at Oregon's defense, and we talked a little bit about this. You shared off camera that you look for the chinks in the armor. Where are the chinks in the armor? There isn't a lot of. Oregon's pretty solid across the board, but what Liberty does such a good job of is taking the best players, and what Willie Corn builds his offense around is putting those best players in conflict, making them, not just allowing them to pin their ears after and go after. They make them think in a lot of different ways. So I think they'll continue to do that. I think from the wrinkle standpoint of what you're getting at, the one part about wrinkles is if you're going to use some of them, bowl games are a great place to use them. Where you see more of the wrinkles being used, I think, and it is the best place to use wrinkles, is in special teams. So if you've been practicing, every special teams
fake
is
field goal,
fake field goal, fake punt,
right.
something of that aspect, because you've been practicing stuff all year and you hit it. I went to the UNC West Virginia game, and West Virginia. You think, okay, they're getting ready to kick a 35-yard field goal. Bam, fake field goal. They run it down to the 3-yard line. So it's all those little things that they practice along the way that I think have the opportunity to use in a game like this, especially for Liberty because they're big underdogs.
The other thing, though, about Liberty is, like, you go into some of these games where you'll see teams almost gimmick themselves out of the game.
Right.
Because they're like, they feel so, maybe they lack confidence that they can go just head up and compete, that they start doing all this goofy stuff they don't normally do, and they play themselves out of the game with that. I don't think Liberty's that way, because I do feel like Liberty, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is confident they can move the football and they can find success with what they do.
Right.
And so I don't have the fear as much with them of they're going to try to throw the kitchen sink at it and end up turning the ball over on some double reverse pass. You know, I don't get that vibe from them, and just knowing this coaching staff a little bit, I think they're confident enough in what we do well, we can do against anyone that we play. And I think that's kind of their mindset going into this one.
Yep.
How much do you think we're going to see like what we've seen all season long with them mixing in C.J. Daniels, Quentin Cooley versus Caden Salter's just scrambling because he's seeing a defense that he hasn't seen before in terms of talent and speed and size and all of that.
Yeah, I think there'll be some of that, but the bottom line is Liberty is what this game comes down to. Like, are we doing keys to the game yet, or do we want to break?
Well, don't give everything away.
You get into a little bit. We'll save all of our predictions and stuff for the next one.
Yeah, what I think what this game comes down to is, you look at Oregon, which is the number 11 rushing defense in the nation. Liberty, the number 1 rushing offense in the nation.
Yeah.
That's what this game comes down to. And I've always said this since day one, after watching, not since day one, but after seeing Liberty play for a few weeks, if they can run the ball in between the tackles, they almost become unstoppable. And I still believe that. And I think that Oregon, obviously their defense is going to be really good, but when you're the, I don't care who you play, when you're the leading rushing team in the nation, right, and you're averaging what they're averaging, and if you can run the ball in between the tackles, I think Liberty, that's going to be what keeps them in this football game. So it goes back to Matt's point. I don't think you're going to stay in the game by being gimmicky. You're going to stay in this game by doing what you've always done, and that's run the ball between the tackles, which then sets everything else up. So that's where this game is going to be won and lost.
And on that note, speaking of Oregon, because, again, I do feel like it's so natural to just think of them as a big offense, right? Just because of their history. You think of the Mariotas and all the great offensive players that they've had. But this is a defense under Dan Lanning. They lead the Pac-12 in scoring defense, just over 17 points per game they give up. But to your point, Oregon's held 8 of its last 11 opponents under 100 yards rushing.
There it is.
That's it.
That's your game.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because if we believe that for Liberty to have a chance, this has to be a game in which it's a little bit more high scoring, where it has to become a little bit of a shootout. Like, that's the stat right there.
And I think, too, you also brought the point up earlier of, what they do to teams in the first quarter by jumping out on them.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those games where if they're doing what they're doing to be able to stop the run that way, if Liberty can have success early,
Yeah.
right? Like in
Yeah.
those first years, I'm not necessarily saying you have to go down and score a touchdown every time, right? But if you can run the ball and be like, dang, you catch their attention.
Yeah.
Like these guys can play. These guys are good. They can run the football.
Yeah.
If you can get into a little bit of a, Rocky Balboa slug match with
That's right.
them on
That's
that,
right.
then you're going to give
That's
yourself
right.
a chance. And so I think that's the message. The better that Liberty plays early, with especially running the football, is going to dictate a lot of the game.
And the stat you mentioned, Oregon 4th in the nation in first quarter point differential, meaning they jump on people. And you can't, like you go back, Oregon when they played USC, Bo Nix's first 2 pass attempts went for 77-yard touchdown and an 84-yard touchdown. You can't, like, that's what you can't have.
Right.
Like, you cannot get down like that early on.
And I think, too, that defensively, when you get on the other side of the ball, it's like Oregon's going to score, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to score, okay?
Right.
That's reality. The question is, how difficult is it?
How long does it take? How hard is it? Yeah.
If it's really, really easy, okay, that's going to put Liberty in a tough spot. But if they have to move the ball down the field and they're running a lot of plays, and then Liberty gets a ball and they're running a lot of plays, that's when you'll get into a good game. Then you start hoping as the game goes on, hey, make them run a lot of plays. The more plays they run, the more opportunity there is to become a turnover. And that's what Liberty's done such a good job of. So that big part of it is like, how difficult is it for them offensively? They're going to score, but how difficult does Liberty's defense make it?
Another thing that I thought was interesting coming from the offensive press conferences this morning, Newland Isaac was like, hey, we can't like imitate these players on defense. Like we don't have 6'6" linemen and like 6'4" corners and stuff like that. So we're using our scout team to just make sure they're in the right positions in order to see what we're going up against, because you can't replicate their size.
No.
Like it's just such a different team in terms of that athletic ability and size. So hopefully that will be good enough. We'll see.
And kind of off that same point, like the other side, and we'll talk to the defensive guys tomorrow, but you can't replicate Bo Nix.
Right.
Like you and I were talking before this, Bo Nix is probably the best quarterback, not only Liberty's faced this year, but Liberty, the program, has ever faced.
Yeah.
Like
He's
maybe
the best offensive player.
And only
he's ever
had
faced,
5 sacks on.
Right, and was only sacked 5 times all year. And he's 2 touchdowns behind the single season touchdown record at Oregon. He's 309 yards away from the single season yardage record. So he's motivated.
Blah, 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 blah.
But he is that.
And we're
good.
still trying to figure
Right.
out how to get Bo Nix COVID.
Yeah, he is. Oh, gosh.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
Just put the
kidding.
COVID on
yeah.
somebody.
Well,
I get
no
what you're
COVID
saying.
schmovid. I know.
He is, but he is that good. He is that good.
I know.
And that is going to be
That's gonna
a
be-
challenge. Now, their top receiver, you talk about opt-outs, and we wondered, that was the big question. Like 5 minutes after we saw Liberty's logo pop up next to Oregon's, we're all like, do you think Bo Nix would sit out?
Yeah.
They do have some guys opting out. Their center who
That's big.
won the Remington Trophy, like
He
he's
won the Remington Trophy.
yeah, so best center in college football,
Yeah.
not
So
playing.
that's
True freshman will take his spot.
Oh.
Hey,
and
Butterfinger.
and a conversation with an Oregon insider. I was talking with somebody today.
Did you look around when you said
I did.
Oregon?
I don't want to make sure. I don't want to give away too much. It said,
Everyone has this place was completely packed when we set up.
and we started.
It was shoulder to shoulder. And then we
it looked kind
started.
of like college game day.
And look at it now.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go, boys.
But my insider
We
tells me
need that one guy with the sign that
We
just
need
walks across.
one
That was
guy.
our start.
Yeah.
We-
Powered by.
That's
Powered
the
by.
beginning of
Powered
the
by
end.
Alcova Mortgage. and then it
Oh
grows
my
from
gosh.
there.
You
But-
couldn't find anyone to do that,
No.
Joe.
Yeah, I know.
He needs to pay.
He
I'm sorry,
misspelled.
go ahead.
He misspelled. He
Yeah.
actually did make a sign. He
Yeah.
just misspelled Alcova.
Yeah. My inside source tells me that the true freshman center that we play him, that one issue he has is snapping the football. He's had some trouble snapping the ball. That's something he's even said he's struggling with. So for a team that doesn't turn the ball over in Oregon, doesn't make a lot of mistakes at all on the offensive side, that is one thing to watch, the snaps, and just like, because that can throw off, obviously a bad snap, that's huge. But even just slower than normal snaps, even just a little to the side, a little low at the feet, can throw off the timing between Bo Nix and his receiver. So that is going to be something that's kind of like, you don't really think about going into the game. It's something to kind of keep an eye on.
And the other thing, too, is what it'd be interesting to see how Liberty decides schematically to face Oregon, because when you have a center who's that type of Remington Trophy award-winning center, he's making all the calls on the offensive line. Like he's going up, he's pointing out who's the mic, he's getting the shifts when the D-line, and so like there's so much communication on the offensive line. Like now you've got a true freshman in there. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what does Skylar McGee on the defensive line, Kyle Krantz do Do they move a lot of people pre-snap, try to do some confusion with them to get them thinking more? So it'll be interesting to see a little bit of a cat and mouse game there with that side of the football.
And like you said at the beginning of the podcast, like you have so much time
Right.
to like decide what game plan you're going after and all that. So it's just, and it can be your best friend to have that time to feel really confident and prepared. But then you could be like second guessing yourself and all of that. So I don't know. But one thing, I talked to a lot of the guys this morning, everyone's pretty much healthy. The guys who will be opting out for sure is Preston Hodge
and Jonathan Bennett.
and Jonathan Bennett are both not playing. But it'll be interesting to see who will suit up and play.
Hodge
because
is a loss. That's a big loss. We bragged about him a lot this year and what he became, especially in the second half of the season. So that is a pretty big loss in the back end.
But you just need guys to step up. I mean, the defense has made those plays that the Flames have needed them to make each and every game. They're definitely going to need to make.
Here's a question for
on
you,
Monday.
Joe. If you were to have to identify the one guy on that Liberty defense that you feel like is the most critical, or if Liberty is going to score an upset, this guy has to play bigger than maybe what we've typically seen. Is there a guy in that defense that you would circle?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have your standard stars that always got to play well. Like on the back end, the secondary, Brylan Green's going to have to play really well. Like he's a game-changing player. I think what Tyron Dupree has done this year, he is going to have to step it up and play really well. But if you were to go with like that guy, because they run the ball, they stretch the ball so wide. TJ Bush, or what I'm thinking is a Joe Carter type of guy. Like if that guy has a 10, 12, 14 tackle, game, then you like, and those other guys play real well because they're going to hit you inside, they're going to hit you outside. You have to have linebackers that are going to be extremely active in this offense. And he's the kind of guy that if Oregon's breaking down their side of the film, going, they watch Dupree play, Joe Carter's had a great season, but who are you going to go after? And so I think that if he really steps up, that he could be a little bit. We could have another unsung hero segment.
Yeah, well, and you said the guy I was thinking.
You don't produce this thing, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Emily said Tyron Dupree for unsung hero.
Tyron Dupree for unsung hero.
No.
And Caden Salter.
And Caden Salter.
Hello. And was I right? Thank you.
Where'd this guy come from?
Where'd this guy?
But TJ Bush was my thought.
TJ.
Because if there's one guy who you could see getting in there for like that strip sack, like if anyone was going to do it, in my mind, it's probably TJ Bush would be that guy. So he would be the guy that.
And I mean, you're a freshman, like you have nothing to lose. Like you're starting at the top, playing in the Fiesta Bowl in your college career. Come out and just ball.
Yeah. And I also think the guy who's really has stepped up when it counts most is Kobe Singleton.
Singleton,
I mean, that's a guy that. If they're obviously got really good receivers, so he's going to find out. He's going to get a good indication how you're facing NFL type receivers. So.
Right. Willie Corn today at the press conferences was saying that his brother Colton, the director of player personnel, they have like a system, and I'm going to botch it. It's like by color coordinated, and like blue and green are like NFL best playmakers and all that. And then to the bottom where it's like, you're gonna be able to fool this guy. He's gray. Like, Willie Corn goes, there's no gray on.
There's no like obvious weakness.
There's no weakness. So I think that as much as Oregon's offense is talked about, this defense is going to be pretty difficult. But again, hopefully the offense is unique enough where a month isn't enough to figure it out.
Here's a question: Where do you think that, because in a lot of these bowl games, it gives these coaches. Liberty's coming in this thing. They're thinking one thing only, and that's figure out a way to win the football game. Play our best guys to win the football game. A lot of these other schools, such as in Oregon, come to these bowl games thinking, "Hey, we got to start looking towards next year and getting some of these young guys some quality reps." Do you think Oregon in a game like this will do that, or will they stick with just playing their best guys?
I think from what I've heard, they may need to in some areas. Like they said, they have 5 scholarship receivers available, and one of those guys hasn't played much, but he's a freshman who was one of the top receiver recruits in the country. So he's expected to play more. So I think in some areas, they will do that. Just have necessity even because of like even a defensive back, they're a little light. They may have to do that there. But in their minds, they're probably thinking, you know what? We'll be able to do that in the second half.
Right.
In their minds, they're probably thinking, we're going to be in a position after halftime where clear out the bench, we'll be able to get all those guys.
I mean, I heard they're not
You
even
know?
practicing this week. That's what I heard.
They just spend
They're
it all
going
after the
in this
Top
thing.
Golf.
They're
Yeah.
like, Fiesta Bowl. We've been there 4
Yeah,
times. This is our
yeah.
4th time.
Is this their 4th time here?
4th time to the Fiesta Bowl. So I'm not saying that anybody told me this, but like they're walking around like, oh, we gotta be at the
Wait,
Fiesta Bowl.
wait, you're saying no one told you that? Or
no
you're
one
saying
told me that.
Okay,
So
pure
I'm
conjecture.
making this up.
Yeah.
And no,
You're literally
I'm
making
just
this up.
hoping. I'm just putting it out there
Yeah.
in space, for.
Well,
for,
and we talked about over a delicious media luncheon earlier
Oh.
today.
yeah, shout out to the Fiesta Bowl committee.
Yeah,
They
unbelievable.
are top notch.
But something that we talked about that I feel like is so true each and every year in bowl season is who's motivated.
yeah,
That's such a big factor.
why
Who-
would Oregon be motivated?
Who wants to be there and who is thinking about the game they should have been in their minds. You know what I mean?
Need God to just
And-
pause that sun placement. Right
and-
now.
yeah,
That is
right.
absolutely perfect. There's a palm tree right now.
Covering
it has
you
about
out.
12
Yeah.
branches on it.
Yeah.
11
One
would
of those
be too
is going
few.
right across her face
13.
right now. But like Oregon is thinking about, we keep hearing, oh, they were 6 points away from being in the playoff.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You didn't win.
I
to
know,
be
you've
there,
done
so
this,
bye.
you've done this
You've
already.
already
Why
done
do you
this.
have to do
Okay,
that?
sorry. Gosh, it's
She
so
takes that so
embarrassing.
personal.
I'm
Like-
just saying, like, if
like-
we could have been, coulda, shoulda, woulda. You didn't. Bye.
Why
Play
do you?
us.
It's
Okay.
always turned
Keep
so
going,
like,
Matt,
yeah,
keep
just
going.
always
No.
turned so, man, I don't. Anyway, if that's their mindset, then yeah, then they're not coming into this game fired on all cylinders and as focused as they should be. At the same time, do you need everyone on that roster to be as dialed in? You all right? Whoa,
Sorry.
geez. Oh, whoa.
I'm allergic to
Take it.
like
Yeah.
ridiculousness.
Oh gosh, are we? This is good.
I got my handkerchief.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh boy.
Just relax, Joe.
I don't-
That's a
I just got
sneeze.
over being
Everyone
sick.
freaks out with one sneeze.
We are not 6 feet apart.
I know.
Yeah, this is not.
This is not
secure.
socially
And you,
distanced.
you do not have your double N45 mask
I'm
on.
sorry. I have a little congestion from the flight.
You need a double mask.
Anyway.
Oh my god.
All that to say, you had some people
Matt
on your
has been
plane
trying
like
to
that
get
too,
this
didn't you?
point out.
You're triple-
All that to say,
that Emily needs a triple mask.
Emily needs a triple mask,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see early on.
Triple option. now.
I think you'll find out early on just how motivated
I
and
agree with that.
how focused
I agree with
Oregon
that.
is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few of them walking around.
You're making
Oh,
all this
stop.
stuff.
You're
Up.
just
She
making
hasn't
that
seen
up.
anything. She hasn't. Just
So-
spreading rumors.
So tomorrow, like Matt said, we're going to talk to the defense, Liberty defense. We might even slide in to talk to Bo Nix. I might have to have a little talk with
Yeah, we
him.
made that.
We'll
Just
talk
about-
about.
You don't want to talk to him?
No, we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
talk with Bo.
Yeah.
I need one of you guys to dig up the information on players getting hurt and the amount of money that they lose.
Oh boy. Hey, Bo, were you aware?
Don't you put that evil on me,
Yeah,
Ricky
yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah,
Don't
so
you put that evil
I'm
on
just
me.
throwing
That's
it
what
out
he's
there.
gonna
I'm
say.
just looking ahead for your future, Bo. I care about your success looking ahead, so you might want to sit this one out.
Yeah.
But anyways, the players are also going to be making wagons for the Girl Scouts. You know, they like
Wagons.
have their wagons.
Oh,
where they put all the
oh, yeah,
cookies and
wagons.
Emily's
stuff.
really fired up about
Wagons? Are you talking about Oregon Trail? Like,
Yeah,
what do you
okay.
think I was talking about?
Wagons for the Girl Scouts.
Oh my gosh, did you guys play that game growing up though? For real, I used to
Did you ever die
always.
of dysentery?
Oh, I would always.
Yeah.
Are you
Never played
sure
that.
your wagon isn't going to be able to survive this river? Are you sure
Caulk
you
it.
want to continue?
Always caulk it.
Absolutely.
I
Never
literally
ford
have
the
no
river.
Go
idea.
big or go home.
Never
Oregon
ford
Trailers.
the river, always caulk the wagon and float. Always. And then I may have single-handedly been the reason for the buffalo's demise as a species because I would just shoot every single one and you can't carry that much weight back, but I just kill them all.
Oh
would-
my gosh, Matt
Wasted.
Warner.
It's just
Wasted.
Wait,
I did not
buffalo.
use every part of the buffalo, that's for
Oh
sure.
my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. No, they are making Girl Scout wagons. So that'll be really cool. They're practicing out at the Angels.
Yeah.
Angels
Spring
in the
training
outfield.
complex.
Yeah, their spring training complex, which is beautiful. So that'll be pretty cool. Stay tuned on all like our Flames accounts.
We're
to see
also
some of those
going to be
updates.
talking with an Oregon beat writer
Yeah.
that we can run that in the next podcast if we'd like to do that. And we'll probably have some sound from some of the press conferences and things. And here's the thing. If you're coming out, if you're still a Liberty fan, I'm sure there's some
Yep.
of you at home that you're planning on coming out later in the week.
Bring it on.
We want to see you out at the pep rally on Saturday night.
I have here, stand by.
Saturday? I believe it's
Saturday
Saturday night at the team hotel. We want to see you. We're going to be out there taping a podcast during the pep rally.
You know what I'm
So
gonna
come
do?
on out. We want to meet you guys.
You know what I'm gonna do during that? I've been working on for like
What's
2 weeks. I've been working on my pregame speech.
Yes, Joe's been hyping this
They
for a
are.
while.
Wait.
Yeah.
We
you're
want to hear
doing-
Joe's
Are you doing it in the locker room or on the podcast?
I don't think James is
Locker
gonna have
room,
it
James.
in the locker.
Hey, Joe, you
And now we're getting ready to play the biggest bowl game in the history of Liberty football. And I want to bring in and get you guys fired up. Here's from Alcova Mortgage. He does the podcast for us. He's a heck of a guy. Take it, Joe.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Thanks for that great
If any
introduction.
of you
guys.
are looking for a
Hey, guys.
home,
Hey,
I have a
guys.
guy
Yeah.
for you.
Joe Yock here.
How about those rates, huh?
Yeah. No, I
Can
will
you-
be. No. I'm,
What's the deal with those high rates?
wait. He's the guy with the high rates. Go after him.
Yeah.
They run me out of there.
Yeah.
Not my
Whatever.
fault. The rates aren't my fault.
Oh my gosh.
No, I got a pregame speech.
Good. You
I'm-
look into
I'm-
the heart of
I'm-
Flames Nation.
Yeah.
We might need
I'm
another camera.
I'm gonna
for
get
that.
them. I'm gonna get them.
No,
fired up.
we'll have Donald zoom in on you.
You may have to do. I may get up and start moving during that speech. So just
Okay.
be ready.
So the pep rally is Saturday, December 30th at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It's at the Cypress Court at the Scottsdale Plaza.
Yeah, that's the team
So
hotel.
that's the team hotel. Flames football pep rally. I think we are going to just set up right in the center of it.
Do it.
Like the band is gonna have to go
They're gonna
around
surround
us.
us. We're gonna break
Yeah, we're
bread.
gonna surrounded by the man.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we're important, so that sounds about right. What else do we have?
That's it.
That's it.
That's all we got.
That's
That's it.
all we
Much
got
more
for-
coming here in a couple of days.
got a
Oh
lot of
wait, we
action
got a
coming.
guest performance right now. You know what, people? You just never know what's going to happen on the
You
Flame
don't
Central
You don't
podcast,
know.
powered by Alcova Mortgage. We had a line of people that wanted to come on, but
Nope.
James Crepea, he is
He
here.
jumped to the front of the
He-
line.
He's the crepster. It's crepomania, baby.
Oh my
You kidding me?
God.
Yeah.
Oregon
You're
beat writer?
already charting new territory.
Oregon
for me,
beat
Chris.
writer.
That's a great line. It's crepomania,
Yeah, it's
baby.
good.
You know, James is co-workers with Bill, who got all the Flames fans
Oh,
and a
yeah,
little,
Bill
you
knows
know.
what he's doing. You and Bill buddies?
Bill and I have been working together for about nearly 2 years now, and
That's how you break the ice
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
I
Bill's
love
Bill is he does what columnists do.
Yes,
Yeah.
he stirs
Bill,
the pot.
Bill does lots of things very well, and he expresses himself in all kinds of creative ways. And sometimes
I wish my coworkers talked about me like
and,
this.
you know, and look, he's a funny guy. He's the king of dad jokes by
Oh.
his own admission.
Oh, really?
Oh, I got a couple for
Oh,
him.
it is. He is
Come
a,
find me, Bill.
a bit of a cornball in that
Yeah.
way.
I got you.
But when he sees an opening and an opportunity to address the topic that needs addressing, which at the time of the bowl announcement was for our audience, how in the world was this matchup constructed?
Yeah.
And to try to do it in a little bit of a different, creative way, albeit, yes, as you mentioned, probably got some people's blood boiling. Again, that hey,
Yeah.
he has the freedom and dare I say liberty to express himself
yeah.
as a columnist. sees fit.
The
there,
dad
yeah,
joke.
yeah.
What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Oh my goodness.
This is her favorite.
Yeah, R. Yeah.
You thought it'd be R, but it's really the C.
Yeah, see, you opened
Yeah.
the door.
You can
There
tell
you
him I
go,
said that.
Oh, believe me.
That is so
He'll
good.
be here in mere days.
Yeah,
you can,
good.
yeah,
I
Tell him
can't wait to
yourself.
see him.
yeah.
You know what? I'm excited for
Yeah.
Bill because I read Bill's articles.
Yeah.
You know, I read the
All of a
article.
sudden,
about
Joe went through all the
I went and read the article about
James
the stolen
wants to know if we
violin.
read his
You read the
articles.
stolen violin article? Yeah, the guy Bill wrote a great article about some guy got his violin stolen. He's gonna go perform for the kids, got his violin stolen. He had to track it back down. It's a great article.
It moved.
It
Joe.
moved me. I
It
got
moved.
emotional during the article.
Let's get back to the game.
Okay.
I usually read quite a bit
So-
of what he's got.
Yeah.
So, James, how excited were you when you saw Liberty, Oregon flash
Hashtag,
up
or
on
what,
that?
what was
Yeah,
the
what's
reaction
the
from the
order?
fan
Yeah.
base in
Yeah.
general?
Okay, well, for me to speak on behalf of fans
Yeah.
because I'm just doing a job. I mean, I'd be at wherever the game was and whoever the matchup was and wherever the destination was and all the
Yeah.
like. But no, for fans, I mean, the immediate reaction really it hasn't slowed down much. Frankly, it's probably going to reignite a bit this week.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
the reignite flames.
and I wasn't even trying on that
Yeah.
one. But it probably is because people are going to be like, oh yeah, wait, why is it happening? Was how and why, and not as a knock, and it had nothing to do with
Sure.
Liberty specifically. It was more about, I think, for especially more casual fans.
Yeah.
But especially Pac-12 fans and a good swath of the Oregon fan base. There is kind of the perception that if you make it to a New Year's Six bowl, that you don't just deserve to have a good bowl game if you have a good season, but you deserve to have a good opponent if you have a good season. And that the design is to make the optimal matchup for just that team. And forget everybody else is in New Year's Six Bowls. We're not concerned about whether they have good
Right.
matchups. The top teams in the New Year's Six who aren't in the playoff, they deserve the absolute best matchup, the highest ranked possible opponent, which is not in any way, shape, or form how the playoff is constructed, not what its protocol is, not how the matchups are designed.
Right.
And trying to understand how the matchup was built, quite honestly, I thought it was fairly intuitively obvious that Oregon was going to be at the Fiesta once it lost the Pac-12 title game, and that Oregon was going to be playing the top-ranked Group of 5 champion by the committee in this game, regardless. Now, how and why the committee chose Liberty versus SMU at the end, that's for them to talk about one way or the other, and that's, I know,
They lost
part
today,
of,
by
part
the
of
way.
that talking point.
Yeah.
So to tell you, like, what was my reaction on that day? One, there was briefly a report that SMU was the opponent.
Yeah.
I happen to know SMU's head coach, so from a past life. So I literally had a text. I didn't even tell Rhett this yet. I'll tell him now. This game's over. I literally was texting Rhett Lashley to say, "Hey, look forward to seeing you in Phoenix," and I never sent it. And then when it came on the screen, I went, "Well, I saved myself a little bit of embarrassment there."
Yeah.
And because I mean, you didn't know until the end, but yeah, like I say, for a brief moment there was a report circulating that it was. So in terms of my own reaction, one way or the other, I knew it was A or B kind of thing. But to me, once they lost the Pac-12 title game, like I say, I was fairly certain that because of geography, because of once FSU especially was left out and was automatically going to go to the Orange Bowl, and then therefore Georgia's going there, you had 6 teams for the 3 other games, and Ohio State was going to get placed geographically at an advantageous spot. Oregon's next. They're obviously going to be as far west as possible. And then it became, the only argument was whether or not Missouri was at the Cotton Bowl or the Peach. But one way or another, that was only going to reverse where Ole Miss was going. It had no impact. Like, whoever was the next Group of 5 champion was going to be given the least advantageous situation, whoever it was.
Yeah.
So that's how and why we ended up here. But that was with the reaction. It's all a long way of saying, room on the clock, what were we at, 3 weeks ago, roughly? Almost 4 weeks ago? Yeah, the reaction was, how and why is this, and why is it that Ole Miss and Penn State get a great matchup in the Peach, but they're lower ranked than Oregon, and Oregon gets this, and Oregon State, their coach is just leaving, and now they're getting to play Notre Dame, and that was what the Oregon fan base reaction was like, teams that finish lower than us, and I say us as fans, like teams that finish lower than the Ducks got perceived better matchups than, higher ranked opponents than. This is not because they know one thing or the other or could name anybody at Liberty or not. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do simply with their viewing it going,
Liberty's used
why?
to it.
No,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but like I say, it had nothing to do with if it was
right,
SMU, they would have been like, well, that's a team heading back to the ACC, and okay, it's the top Group of 5 champ, but they had a little bit more familiarity. But while Liberty has played Power 5 teams over the last couple of years with some wins and some success, particularly in the South, hasn't really branched out to take on a lot of won't be taking on any Pac-12 anytime in the
Missed
fourth.
that chance.
But hasn't really branched out to the
Yeah.
West Coast, so it wasn't a brand that many on the West Coast were all that familiar with, other than, yes, the avid fan who knows, and yes, obviously was familiar with Hugh or had seen some of the bigger games or knew that Malik Willis was over there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But again, now we're going into the many layers deep
Right.
of the college football fandom.
All right, tell me this, because obviously no one knows this Oregon program better than you do, covering them every day. But we look at all the gaudy numbers. We look at just the domination they had throughout the season, basically against anybody besides Washington. As you look at this game, is there an area where you feel like this is one spot where if it's going to be a game, this is something that could turn in Liberty's favor, or they could take advantage of to make it a game here on Monday?
To me, the compelling part is the strength versus strength in this game. Look, this is the #1 rushing offense in the country.
Yeah.
I understand against the competition, like, you still had to do it.
Right.
It's tough to do what Liberty does in a running attack, and I understand the option. I understand why it's difficult. I understand why a lot of coaches in other leagues tried to get Paul Johnson started talking about the triple option,
Right.
why teams wanted to get rid of it, and block him below the waist and all that kind of stuff. I get why it's a challenge, and I've seen it played against really good teams, against Alabama, against Auburn, and the like. On one hand, in a bowl game, you get weeks to prepare for it, as opposed to just in the middle of the season. But that's tough.
Yeah.
That's hard. Man, I don't care who you're playing. Like, you know what you do really well, and you do it really well, and you have the athletes to do it and have success when they have the lanes. I understand about speed and talent and everything else. Their triple option run game is obviously what makes this offense operate. And they're really effective at it. They're really good at it. Some of the players involved are really athletic guys. As good as Oregon's run defense is, and it is statistically borderline outstanding.
Yeah.
And depending on how they do against this running attack, they will either, for the first time in program history, finish a season holding opponents to less than 100 yards rushing a game, or very nearly in the realm of best season in program history. The two results, obviously, that they don't want to talk about as much and aren't as thrilled about is that, yeah, against a great team in Washington, that was the one running back who topped 100 yards, and he did it twice. And he went for over, I think, 150 in the Pac-12 title game on a bad leg. So particularly if Jordan Burch doesn't play, and we don't know yet, we'll see in the next couple of days at open periods of practice, which we haven't been at for a minute, whether or not he's really back or how limited or not. But that's their best perimeter edge defender, and setting on the edge in particular. Now, do they have depth behind that? They have talent? Absolutely. But to me, if you're saying where is there an area where this could be at least potentially competitive and more competitive than maybe what is expected or whatever? Look, that's their biggest strength. Oregon did not do particularly great in quarterback runs. This is a different style, so it's not just a matter of saying like, oh, well, go back comparing it to Texas Tech. This offense is nothing like with Texas, other than the idea of like RPO. But like that, no, it's really not that similar. But a whole lot of teams who Liberty plays don't play exactly, opposing offense is what they do. But what they do is really effective, obviously. So if they are down some of their better defenders against the run, and the triple option it's daunting under good circumstances. On one hand, you have time in a bowl. On the other hand, I'm not saying they do or they don't. Motivation is always a question in bowl games.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Oregon doesn't have it, but it just always is. You see it all the time. You see games where it's like, well, that defense was dominant or really good for most of the year, and then all of a sudden they let up a whole ton of yards, or that team was without all these guys, and all of a sudden they were in a competitive spot, or what.
This is a part of the Oregon
We have a
coaching staff
flyover
that is
here.
having
Scheduled
issue
flyover.
questioning the motivation.
Well,
There we go.
that or Connor Stallions just flew in, one or the other. But yeah.
Being around the team, the last few weeks, do you feel a sense of there's like a lack of motivation from the Oregon guys? Or?
No, I don't sense that at all. And look, we haven't talked to we haven't talked to everybody just yet.
Yeah.
We haven't, admittedly, on campus in terms of interviews. I thought rightfully, we talked to a lot of the true freshmen we hadn't had a chance to speak to yet this season. So we got a lot of those initial interviews done on campus and a little bit of a more compact audience. So talking to some of the defensive guys today, look, to me, if there were questions about motivation, then I think you would have seen more opt-outs.
Yeah.
And opt-outs not because of health or, draft stock in particular. I think you would have seen a larger mass exodus because of that. You haven't had that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the questions that remain, and we talked about this a couple hours ago, but questions that remain in terms of who may or may not play or who might not be available have nothing to do with motivation. Have to do with health.
Yeah.
It's did this guy who just got hurt, or did this guy who missed the last couple of games, or did somebody who played through an injury, are they healthy enough to play, or are they going to sit out for precautionary reasons and other reasons, or whatever the case may be? But it has nothing to do with, I don't want to play this game because this isn't going to help me, or this isn't going to be that competitive, or nothing like that. The guys who've opted out are either, like I say, in a spot situationally for the draft that it makes all the sense in the world, and or guys who were hurt and playing hurt, and then it got to a point where it's like, well, if you were in their shoes, it wouldn't matter who the opponent was, you wouldn't be playing in this game because if you have a separated shoulder or whatever the case is. So no, I don't even remotely get a sense that coaches or players that anybody's lacking motivation for Oregon's purposes.
As you get closer to this game and the weeks have built up here, and looking at both teams, what's your gut feeling on this game, on how it will go? And is this a game like, I feel confident, 17.5 point spread, whatever it is now, it's probably growing further than that. But yeah, Oregon will cover the spread, or hey, this could be a tight ball game. What does your gut feeling tell you?
Well, I certainly preface by saying I do not, and I don't judge anybody who does, but don't take in any way what I have to say by way of anything related to finances or
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah, you're on
Matt,
decision
please
making.
say
All
it
right.
one more time,
Wagering
just
and
to
the like.
clarify.
That's for a different realm entirely. To wait,
DraftKings.
yeah. You can wade into those waters
just
at
moved
your
the
own
line.
at your own peril.
A way to blow my per
don't get
diem this
into-
week.
Yeah, I don't get into any of that at all. For those who do, have at it. But yeah, that's not my repertoire. But aware of it. But yeah, I don't engage with it. But no, what my feelings, my thoughts on it are simply is that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country, and they played like it all year. And yeah, they lost to one of the teams who's in the playoff, and that's the only team they did lose to. And every other game, they had competitive advantages, and frankly, they were pretty even with Washington both
Right.
games. And they lost some of their best players in both games, and them's the breaks. Like that's not excuses. Like Washington's a darn good team, and we'll see what happens in the playoff. They're as liable to me as any in that tournament. But Oregon was right there with them in 2 games on the road and in a neutral site. Bottom line, like they're really good, and they played really good all year. All right, they came up short in that against that one opponent twice, but matched up with virtually anybody who's not one of those 4 playoff teams, or if everybody was healthy and everybody was playing, a Florida State or a Georgia. There's not very many teams in the country who I give a significant competitive advantage against
Right,
Oregon in.
Right.
And virtually any of them are also in either, again, the playoff or 1 or 2 of the other New Year's Six games. So like I say, whether it was Liberty, whether it was SMU, whether it was whoever, I didn't think there was a G5 team who matched up particularly
Right,
well
right.
with this Oregon team. And it has nothing to do with just any one player or, oh, well, Bo Nix was a Heisman finalist, and obviously this offense is terrific. Yeah, it is. When you're talking about a matchup, in this case with a G5 team, I think it's more about not just the high-end talent, it's where's the floor. It's
Right,
it's the
right.
depth.
Right.
And
Goes
the
back to
thing
that chart.
and how and why Oregon went from the team that it was a year ago, which was good, to being, bordering on great this season at times, was the volume of depth,
Yeah.
the depth that they added, the experience they added via the portal, the caliber of freshman talent that they added, and some of whom played a lot in some really prominent roles and played well, and a few others who haven't had a chance to play just yet, but because of opt-outs and injuries and
Sure.
like, very well could see significant action. And all right, that's part of, for my audience, what they're rather excited about. When you
Yeah.
have a 5-star receiver who hasn't played very much due
Right.
to injury, all of a sudden is on the 2 deep, and like I say, could have a significant role in this game. Forget about this season's schedule. Even in the past couple of seasons when Liberty was independent but playing against some of those Power 5 teams, there aren't too many of those teams who had the number 2 receiver in the
right.
prior class, a 5-star, suddenly on the 2 deep
Right.
for the bowl game. Like that just wasn't oh yeah, well, the league they're playing Liberty, well, by the way, an all-American track star might be on the 2 deep.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, James, I was
that's
excited about the bowl game.
Hey, look, you
So,
get to see.
really
one way or another, you
looking
get to see a lot
forward
of talent,
to- Yeah.
one way or another. But
I was gonna say you're from New York. Let's find a place to get you a slice, but
well,
looks
we
like
can
our
do
schedule's
that.
booked.
That's all of that.
No, a good friend of mine, Steve Prefontaine, once told me
Good friend.
Good friend.
to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift.
Now I'm getting emotional.
You know what?
Ooh,
If
don't
you get to
sacrifice
do
the
the
gift.
pregame speech,
Okay,
if
go.
Jamie
Sorry.
Chadwell lets you do the pregame speech, I'm gonna
You
get
said
the
Jamie
team
Chadwell's gonna do the
together.
pregame speech?
I'm gonna get the team together, and they can all watch Steve Prefontaine's movie before.
Why are you?
You
this
know?
this is her only Oregon
Oh
reference.
my gosh, I always come up with the best ideas at the last minute.
Uh-oh.
Because do you know Steve Prefontaine's story? Like how everybody wore like
I
stop
have been
free.
familiarized quite a bit.
Yeah.
Living in Eugene, I have been.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been acclimated
Like I
a
know,
little
but
bit.
that's
A little
why
bit.
The Rock and don't get me emotional. But we should have had those shirts with the stop sign that said "Stop Liberty" on them. It's like I know it's a running thing. I'll tell you about it after.
Yeah,
Joe.
we'll talk about that.
It's a really good motivational movie though. So maybe Flames Nation, we can just get some underdog juices flowing since James just extinguished our hopes and dreams.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
kidding,
yeah,
James.
no,
I
no,
lost
no,
all
no,
my
no,
money
no,
on the
no.
bet.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
joking. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate your insight. and-
Crepamania,
And where can
baby.
people
Crepamania.
read your stuff, James? Where can people read your work?
go to-
Crepamania.com.
Yeah, Crepamania.
I think we have to
www.
trademark this.
Yeah,
area.
you
I mean,
might
really
need to.
set it up here for
Yeah,
you.
do you like crepes?
Uh,
What is that?
I love grapes.
That's why the clock back to a
Yeah.
real bygone era nickname from a million years ago. No, so go to OregonLive.com, and that's where, again, if you don't want to read my stuff, I'm sure that once Bill arrives,
Oh.
that everyone will want to ring out, 2023 and ring in the new year,
He'll
raising their
have
blood
fun.
pressure just a little bit
He's-
more.
Yeah.
Billy
And
boy.
providing it, but like I say, I will definitely pass on the well wishes to him.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure he feels the love already from El
Oh
Paso.
no, he's
Yeah.
gonna feel. I'm gonna pick him up from the
Yeah.
airport. I'm picking him up from the airport. Yeah, you have baggage claim. We lost your bag, Billy. James, thanks again for hanging out with us. Looking forward to getting to know you the next couple days. For James and Joe, we'll be back. By the
We'll be
way,
back a couple
we'll
of
be
days.
back in a couple days. So we'll send out some.
What you gonna do when Crepomania runs wild on you?
Okay, for James, Joe,
Time to wrap it up.
and Matt, I'm Emily. We'll see you next time.